Good morning, everybody. It's always such a delight to welcome our dear ARCOS clubs and the wider architectural community to the Sense and Sensibility Lectures, a series where we bring together voices from across disciplines to reflect on design as a social, cultural, and an environmental act. Today, in our 20th edition, we are joined by two inspiring personalities. Sushma Iyengar. Thanks, Sushma, for joining us despite your health concerns. Really appreciate this. While I have not had the good fortune of meeting her myself, I have had the fortune of witnessing some of her work and the change that has come about in Kutch. Thanks to her, I was at the Kutch Mahila Vikas Sangathan earlier this year, or rather late last year in December, and I'm so glad to have her here with us. She will share insights on community-led initiatives, craft, and how local knowledge and traditions can empower people. Architect Aditya Sharma is someone I recently met in a sense through his work, and I'm glad that we've managed to bring him on board to present his work on Mitti Vanam, exploring how ecological thinking and landscape wisdom guide sustainable design. Together, they will explore the theme, Voices of the Earth and Voices of the People, a dialogue that roots design in community, sustainability, and systemic change. This session explores the idea of embracing individuality, whether of people, communities, or ecosystems, and weaving it into a larger pattern. We can create a shared future where diversity is celebrated and collaboration becomes a natural outcome. In essence, it's about recognizing uniqueness while finding connection, balance, and unity in this collective journey. On behalf of Ethos Foundation, I would like to extend my gratitude to our 11 institutional partners for broadcasting this lecture today at their respective colleges. Dayanand Sagar Academy of Technology and Management, Bengaluru, PSG Institute of Architecture and Planning, Coimbatore, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh, VSSUT, Burla in Odisha, Jindal School of Art and Architecture in Sonipat, MRS PTU Gyani Zail Singh School of Architecture and Planning in Bhatinda, Bearies and Enviro Architectural Design School in Mangalore, BMS in Yelahanka, Pilu Modi College of Architecture in Cuttack, Amrita School of Architecture, and JBR Architecture College in Hyderabad. Thank you all for joining us. Today's Sense and Sensibility lecture is a meaningful one, as it comes at a time when Ethos Foundation has already begun an exciting partnership with the Rain Matter Foundation. This association marks a shared commitment to furthering climate action and integrating sustainability into design education and practice. I think change starts at a young age, and that is what we are trying to do with you colleges. In the months ahead, you will see this reflected in our work, from stronger ARCOS clubs to new learning studios, from deeper student engagement to collaborative projects that ripple outwards into the wider community. So as we listen to today's speakers, let us also hold on to this question. How can each of us, as students, as teachers, as practitioners, become part of this larger movement of change? Here we are talking about the ARCOS movement, Designing with Responsibility, supported by Rain Matter and Ethos Foundation Initiative. Today, we have a small fun activity for you. We will drop a Google form link in the chat box. I think Achal is dropping it as I speak. This form is to contribute towards our digital repository of work that is bringing about meaningful change in different parts of India. Very often, these works do not get the recognition they deserved. And like we featured Mitti Vanam, we'd like to feature many such projects so that the strength of the collective becomes a body of work that we can all celebrate together. If you'd like to suggest projects of social relevance, please do so. Each person can suggest projects with legitimate details, including the people involved and the place. Every project that gets featured will receive a copy of 1770, A Walk for ARCOS, the book, and the submissions will also be shared on social media. Quick, start by responding. The sooner, the better. While the form has been shared, our team Ethos is watching the responses closely. And let's see who grabs these prizes before today's session ends. Sanjita and Achal will look at these entries that come in, and we will announce the 3 winners as we go on. I am now happy to invite Sampreet Gowda from Dayanand Sagar Academy of Technology and Management, a young student, to introduce our first speaker for the day. Sampreet, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. This is Sampreet Gowda, a fourth-year student from School of Architecture, DSITM, Bangalore. It's truly an honor to welcome our distinguished guest today, Architect Aditya Sharma, to our SNS Lecture Series 20.0. A seasoned architect and a natural builder, Architect Aditya has been at the forefront of sustainable construction and innovative design across India. His work of beautiful bridges traditional wisdom with the modern techniques, creating spaces that are environmentally conscious and aesthetically inspiring. With a deep commitment to learning and community engagement, he has conducted over 50 workshops across India and abroad, including sessions in Mauritius, Cambodia, and France, training more than 2,500 students in natural building practices. As a managing director of Mithivanam Construction Company and formerly founder of Natural Building Training Center, he has led the projects and training programs across Uttar Pradesh, Nashik, Hyderabad, and Vizianagaram, empowering young builders and designers. His portfolio spans eco-friendly mud houses, nature-inspired resorts, and sustainable farmhouses, all rooted in local materials and community participation. His portfolio includes the design and execution of eco-friendly mud houses, nature-inspired resorts, and farmhouses that integrate the traditional aesthetics with modern functionality, all rooted in local materials and community participation. What has always inspired me about Architect Aditya is how he truly lives what he teaches, making sustainability not just a profession, but a way of life. His work reflects honesty, humility, and a deep respect for the earth. For many of us, he embodies an architecture rooted in empathy, one that listens to the land, values the community, and finds beauty in the balance. Please join me in warmly welcoming Architect Aditya Sharma.
Okay, very good morning to everyone, and thank you for inviting me here, giving me this opportunity. Um, and I would like to today the main reason of for this the topic which we are discussing on the kind of impact that we are expecting on students, on people, is regarding the design, usability of the material, right material and right place, like the climate, according to the climatic conditions, what is the which state we are located in. According to that, what kind of material should be used, locally sourced material should be used, and material should be made in the site itself. We should not focus on buying materials and building. So that is our aim, that everyone should know how to make materials and build their own house using local materials, locally available materials.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. This is Nikit Shivani, fourth year student from PSC Institute of Architecture and Planning. It is an absolute delight to welcome Ms. Sushma Iyengar to our SNS Lecture Series 20.0. A development professional, social activist, and educator, Ms. Sushma Iyengar has spent over 4 decades working at the intersection of gender justice, indigenous cultures, traditional ecological knowledge, cultural livelihood, and local governance. She founded the Kutch Mahila Vikas Sangathan in late 80s, one of the earliest women's collectives in India, and through it, Kushab, a collective of women embroidery artists. She also co-founded Kutch Nav Nirman Abhiyan Setu and the owner-driven reconstruction collaborative, all of which have played a key role in empowering communities. As president and co-founder of Khamer, she continues to strengthen the craft ecosystem of Kutch, from reviving the indigenous Kala cotton, from supporting pastoralist community initiatives like Shami Sarhat, India's first community-run resort. She was the lead curator of the national exhibit Living Life Journeys with Pastoralists, and continues to mentor me through her role with Ahmedabad University, Shivnada University, and foundations such as Paul Hampton and Access Bank. With a background in literature and development communication from MS University Baroda and Cornell University, Sushma Iyengar's journey reflects deep empathy and vision. What has always inspired me about Ms. Sushma Iyengar is how her journey reflects a rare balance of sense and sense, where social change is built with compassion, culture, and creativity. Her work continues to bridge people, ideas, and possibilities, reminding us that true progress grows from empathy, understanding, and the collective spirit of community. We are truly honored to have her with us today. Please join me in warmly welcoming Mrs. Stein.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Geeta, for bringing me into this really vibrant young student forum. And let me see if I can do justice to this interaction and get a little time at the end of this to learn a little more about all of you. I will, well, Geeta had asked me to cover bits of my journey over the last 37, 38 years. And I was wondering how, because my journey has been of working with communities. And as you probably all will learn slowly, that community is not a fixed entity. It's a very, very fluid process. When a community becomes a group of people become a community, and when do they cease to be one? That itself is a very fluid state. So when you begin working with communities, uh, it moves, because communities they shift their identities. We are all, each of you, also each of us, and everybody in rural, marginalized, underprivileged sections traverse many different identities. So I could be a woman, I could be a farmer, I could be a Dalit, I could be a Muslim, I could be living in a very marginalized village, I could be in a very water scarce region, and all of this constitute my identity. And therefore, when one is working with communities, it's never easy to fully comprehend as to when one is actually being fully inclusive and when one sometimes might be excluding someone. And this is really the learning. And it continues. And I'm just going to um, try and bring you little bits of this, of how one engages with communities and what emerges from that, and why one works with communities. To begin with, I must just say that my journey has been very deeply influenced by many people. But for this talk, I would really like to speak about and frame it and scaffold this talk from the perspective of Paulo Freire. I don't know how many of you have heard of him. He was a Brazilian educator who deeply influenced many of my generation and me deeply. And I don't know if you've heard of him. Have any of you heard of Paulo Freire?
I saw a couple of hearts go up, so obviously someone has heard of him.
Wonderful, great. And those of you who haven't, you must. And it is actually Freire and my own experiences from his teachings and the lens that taught me that, and I'm going to speak a lot about power today, that power is not a fixed, it's not a fixed entity, it's not a fixed commodity, and it's always a dynamic and a relative energy, a force that can be used either to obviously dominate or oppress, which is how one tends to see it, or to liberate and humanize ourselves and all of those who we work with through whatever we do. And that authentic liberation of freedom that one always seeks, right, within one's own lives and for all those who we feel deeply about, that authentic liberation is actually a movement from the oppressive powers over us, over communities, over people who are marginalized. And it shifts to becoming a power too and then slowly becomes a power with. I will explain all this in the context of my work, to how it becomes a power within. And this is really the path of transformation. And this is the path of liberation, of freedom, which Gita has very evocatively given today's title. And it is really the path of empowerment, a much used word today, which has almost become hollow because we don't really comprehend it fully. So I'm beginning today's with an evocative image, a community I work with, but I'm not going to speak too much today because I may go on for 2 hours. It's a community I have learned deeply from, and these are the pastoralists. Nomadic mobile pastoralists, you will see them all over, all around you, but they are actually quite invisible. And to me, they really represent a true freedom of spirit, of body, and a true embodiment of all that they live in and stay within nature. And that's why I begin with that today. But I will move quickly to um, to the whole journey of transformation with communities, which I was just talking about. Which I already I mentioned, but I just wanted to reinforce these these concepts of power over, which is the power of invariably of authority, of oppression, of dominance, which everybody experiences deeply. In all our lives, we experience this, whether it is within our families, whether it's within our friends, whether it is our educational institutions, or whether it is the state, or it could be just individual relationships, which we have experienced this. And how does one liberate oneself from that? And that's how this journey then of how you start. What is power to? What is power with? And what is that power within? My understanding and learnings when I was probably many of your ages, when a student, the 70s and 80s was a period of a silent and deep revolution. It was a time when, through a series of incidents that we saw in our country, um, there was a sudden realization, and over a period of 15-20 years, of course, patriarchy has existed for centuries in various different forms, but in the 70s and 80s, when I through my teen and my 20s, uh, it one suddenly society at large started seeing what patriarchy was doing to them, and it was a moment in history when one recognized very clearly where the oppression was coming from. uh, it, wa- it was it was not your family member, it was not any male in your family, it was a larger system, it was a structure which had got validated politically, economically, socially, and played itself out in our individual lives through people we knew or we didn't know. And it it created, in a sense, it started lifting the veil, and this act of when we as women, we stepped out, and because we were also conscious of our own privileges as people who are educated, as women who are educated, who are from higher class, a higher caste, there was a deep discomfort, right? And it's very important to be in a space of discomfort, to be able to recognize this power over. And that's when many hundreds and thousands of people like me stepped out into rural spaces, into women who are far, who had been silenced for years. And that was when this becoming aware of conscious of what is being done to you as women, who is doing it, how is it being done, and how to overcome it. This is what Freire, he gave a very nice word for this. He called it conscientization, which was education for freedom, mm, uh, and finding one's own voice again. And it really meant, this power too really meant smashing this culture of silence that one had been thrust into, that thousands and lakhs of women had been thrust into, and uncovering that potential to take action and create change. Uh, I will not dwell on how these changes happen and how it got created, but it was important. It's important that everything, every problem, every issue became a site for learning, became a site for education. If there was no water in your village, then understanding why there was no water, what was the structure that ensured that I got water as a privileged person, and I as a poor woman did not. What was that power that made me eat last in my own home, or sometimes go hungry? What was that power which ensured that young girls could not speak about their reproductive health issues and sometimes died with overmenstruation and bleeding? What was that power that made me internalize my fear and accepted domination? And it was important to name this, and the name that emerged across the world, globally, nationally, locally, was patriarchy. And understanding this word, naming it, is very important. Naming who your oppressor is, identifying and allowing you to reckon with it, to confront it, to face it, not to dwell in your fear. This was what was called critical consciousness. And this power too, or the power that you get from realizing this, realizing where your oppression is happening, why it is happening, why am I accepting it? Why did so many women say that मेरा मर्द अगर मुझे नहीं मारे तो वो मर्द नहीं है? That if my man doesn't beat me, then he's not a man, and therefore and I want to be married to a man, and therefore I accept it. uh, I just, as a slight digression, many years ago, we put out a small call across villages to send us proverbs that put down women. And these were not times of any mobiles and everything. These were little postcards that people sent to us from real villages across the region. Do you know how many proverbs came in? Not most women didn't even know how to write. 980 proverbs, which put down women in just one small, tiny little region of the country. This was the extent to which, through various means, that that one had started accepting that one had to be dominated. And it was that realization, that opening up, that and this is what we saw unfold and unleash across the country. We were all part of it. The organization Geeta mentioned, Kutch Mahila Vikas Sangathan, was one of the early movements in rural areas of the country, which began here in Kutch, with many others resonating. I'm just giving you this one little example. And so this power too is led to a lot of movements. I'm just giving you one example of one movement that unfolded in Kutch. And it led to a range of women leading watershed processes, women leading reproductive health issues, uh, say taking on the state in multiple ways, hundreds of things. But these were not independent activities. Each of these activities was a step of action in trying to restore and stop the domination of the power over that people had over women. This could be Dalits, this could be minorities, these could be people who are neurodivergent, this could be people who are physically disabled, these are tribals, race, across. You will find this across. This is just one example of how what today we see so many women who we feel is empowered, but it was this process which really took them deeper and deeper and deeper within and realized that the real oppressor, while they were lying outside, had got internalized within. And we all do that. I would urge you as students to become conscious of this, as to look at the demons inside us, and to see who is that we have internalized, accepted, brought into our world, brought into our lives, and say, oh, okay, that's okay. It's fine. They have to dominate me. They are authority, and how to slowly shift that, of course, through anger, but slowly it becomes a more powerful and sublime power when you quietly start realizing that you alone have that power to change that domination, and and you have that agency and you have that choice, and that power is not given to anybody by the oppressors. It is not something that you conquer. It is the act of changing the existing reality through collective action. And this power by itself was an act of liberation for lakhs of women across that collectivization, because it's important to see that the structures that are oppressing you are very organized, are institutionalized, and the only way you can actually overcome and feel powerful again is for you to be organized and for you to get institutionalized in ways which are light. And so this was a whole journey that unfolded, continues even today. The issues may have changed. Women, of course, have changed. Their generations have changed, and yet the process of conscientization and critical thinking and critical consciousness has not changed. When that stops, that's when you will not be able to feel the power within you and to be able to collaborate. And these are all examples of how so many women would come out to start protesting against acts of violence over them individually and collectively, and took to the streets. And as Paulo Freire taught us, and as we slowly started realizing and understanding, that's not important just to act. It is really a combination of action and reflection, which he called praxis. That, and I think the women's movement really followed this in multiple ways. Where there would be action, then you would come back into your quiet space and you would reflect through trainings, through conversations, through discussions, through games, through a range of creative ways in saying, okay, I acted, but what is it that it has done to me? And who took it? Who took the leadership? And these are transformative ways in which you start shifting the reality. I will now move to a completely different example, that when you start feeling powerful enough to want to make change, to act, is when you feel confident to start sharing power and to become collaborative. And that is what Freire indicated. What the women's movement understood was the power with, which is the collaborative, liberative power. Here, I'm going to a completely different example, which also was part of my journey and work, because I lived in a region which is very disaster prone, which is Kutch. We faced many calamities, and well, it has only grown across the country, and I have had the good fortune to be in very unfortunate calamities and disasters. And I say good fortune because these are really cradles of learning. And like I said earlier, it's when you are in a place of discomfort is when you learn the most. Calamities destroy. It destroys history. It destroys your spirit, your will. It brings you down. It breaks your homes. It takes away your material wealth. It breaks your confidence. And here, of course, everybody knows of the famous Gujarat earthquake. Before that, there were many cyclones. But because of the work that me and many of my colleagues and partner did, we were able to learn on how to use the same principles of conscientization and critical consciousness in a completely different sector and terrain. Because when the calamity started or took place, the earthquake, the cyclone, the droughts, and then there was a massive earthquake, there was the tsunamis, there was an earthquake in Kashmir, there was a flood in Bihar, there was again an earthquake in Nepal, and it has gone on and on and on, which is when we realize that that's when the world comes together. Many people come in, and everyone comes in from from a position of power and privilege and resources to come and help those who are less privileged, those who have been impacted, those who have been destroyed. Mm. And this equation of coming from the outside, it can be the state, it can be non-state actors. When you come in, it could be people like us. When you go in and see, and you go into completely different terrains where there's a very different culture. And how do you rebuild it? And it was so interesting that it was this challenge of enabling communities to build together and not allow them to enable them to refuse benevolent acts of dominance, where the state and civil society will come and in benevolent ways will take over your culture, will do what they think is right, what they think is appropriate, build inappropriately. And I'm talking here of building literally and metaphorically. And therefore, we learned techniques which allowed you to collaborate. And today, of course, it is from these experiences that a lot of our work emerged. Hunarshalla Foundation, Khamir, a lot of these emerged from these from these learnings of literally rising from the ashes. And this is the collective form of liberative power that I spoke about earlier. It's created through cooperation, through dialogue, through solidarity among individuals. And this unity of working together, and therefore, for instance, just one example, we really discovered the beauty of rammed earth in 2001 when hundreds and thousands of houses started. All that we were creating and giving them were farmas, and people would get together. These same farmas would pass around one, because the houses, the superstructure would get built over 2 or 3 days, and then they would pass it on to the next household and the next household, and each one, while it was going from one to the other, the ones who didn't have it would come and help the ones who were building. And in a period of less than 8-9 months, we had almost 60-70 villages which had actually risen and made their homes and houses just through this one technology. And sometimes it is these technologies, you need some tools and technologies to be able to stoke this collaborative spirit in all sectors. I'm just giving you one because you're all architects, and I decided to give you this example. And therefore, we as facilitators, this is in Kashmir, where again, similarly, the same approach was followed. And it is very important not just to, again, make this your act of social change. It's important to turn these into policies. And therefore, while we were working with communities on enabling them to collaborate and to unfold the power with, we were trying to convince governments that they also had to acknowledge and respond to the power with. They had the power to make policies. They had to use this power to understand the culture of communities, to understand their own knowledge system, and to collaborate with them and which were people-centric and people-friendly and enable owner-driven reconstruction processes. And it was this that got unveiled in Kashmir. This is in Nepal, where a whole group of women who were monks who were helped to reconstruct in a large terrain, and they took on the same act. And this now has, in a sense, got more mainstreamed through constant repetition, a lot of research, lot of use of technologies, and what I just heard Aditya say right at the beginning, very important to just focus on the local, because then you empower the communities, because that is their power. When you bring resources from outside, you make them powerless. when you enable them to use all the powers, all the resources that they have at their command, that's when you are able to share power. And that's a power that you and me as outsiders may not have. We do not understand that. So they become the teachers and you become the learners. At other times, you become the teachers and they become the learners, but there is an equitable power sharing. And this was a very deep learning in the act. And I will now slowly move to the more sustaining and the most beautiful shifts in power that can take place within each one of us and with those we live and work with. I just want to also go back a bit before I go into this, because Geeta had specifically asked me to talk about this. That, we were able, when I say we, I will come to that, were able to unfold this power with, not as a concept, not as an act which we felt was good for those we were working with, but it was something we had to practice. And therefore, early on, very early on, uh, 10 years into my own journey and working with communities and seeing how communities especially really learn the act and beauty of the power with and collaboration and acting collectively to transform their self and others, to lose the self. It's important to lose yourself when you collaborate, and therefore lose your ego. And we turned back and he said, if the poorest of poor can do this, why can't we as organizations do it? And that's what led to a very large collaborative, one of the first district-led networks in the country, which we called then Kutch Nirman Abhiyan, yeah, because it was rebuilding, and Abhiyan means a campaign. And it was all these photographs that you see. It was Kutch Nirman Abhiyan, where many organizations we came together. In fact, when the earthquake happened, it was very interesting. Many organizations, we did a call and people actually put a lock on their own organizations. And we worked as one collaborative together. Very different people, very different ideologies, completely different histories. There were people from the left to the right, extreme left to the extreme right. There were technologies, there were corporates, there were activists. And we were all sitting and sharing space in the same room and planning and working together and collaborating together, fighting, arguing, loving, respecting each other. And this can happen in a crisis. In good times, it's difficult. And that's why I always welcome a little bit of crisis in our lives. Without that, we never learn. Without that, we do not learn to share power. Without that, we do not recognize the power within, which always gets nurtured by another power next to us. And therefore, it's important to always walk the talk and, and not do things only for the less privileged, for the other, but to realize you're no different. You may think you are more advantaged, but you are more disadvantaged in many ways than the poorest or the most marginalized or the most oppressed. And you must remember that we always carry the potential to oppress. That's what really reminded us. He wrote a whole book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. So we must remember that till we practice sharing power, collaborating individually, institutionally, we are never ever going to learn how to enable communities to do that. And that was a very deep learning. Now I will move to the third example quickly. I don't want to eat into Aditya's time, which is the power within. I will give you a completely different example in the same continuity, but a different point of my journey, which is where one worked intensively with crafts. I talked to you about Abhiyan. And it was this collaborative environment of many organizations coming together, and of course, the crisis of the earthquake, which led to the birth of many new institutions and organizations and processes. Mm. One of them was Hunarshala, which many of you would know of. One of them was Khamir, which was working. So both were actually twinning each other. One was building crafts, one was working with a lot of textile and hard material crafts. Kutch, of course, as you all probably know, has many crafts. More than 24 different kinds of craft practices, some which are at the lower end have ebbed, some which have thrived and survived and have become vibrant again. So when the earthquake happened, it was very interesting. A lot of the artisans, the craft artisans, would come because people wanted to support them, give them grants, give them money, all of it. And it was only the artisan community which came forward and said, "We don't want free money. You enable us in such a way that our own resources can kick back, that we can bring back our looms, we can bring back our lathes, we can bring back our kilns, and we will revive again because we have we have our own khamir. Khamir is a very interesting word. It means intrinsic value, intrinsic pride, what lies within. It is it in the Persian language. It means fermentation. And what I've just explained to you for the last 15-20 minutes is the fermentation of transformation for you to reach that power within. And the craft sector uh, is what I would like to share this example with you, because this meant that we had to regenerate a lot of the values which were threatened by a debilitating calamity. And more than that, as you see today in today's environment, it is the market forces which has become that oppressor, which is that power over. We've all bought into it, wittingly, unwittingly. And those who are producing something, a product, are completely at its mercy. And therefore, it was very important to initiate a process which took away the attention, not completely away, because you need products, you need to sell it, you need to make money. That is what will drive the economy for the community of artisans, but not at the cost of recognizing the intrinsic value of craft, which lies in its craft practice. And all craft is rooted. Craft is not possible. It is rooted in community and place. These are the two strong elements. It's rooted in people and land. That's what creates culture. It's it's a synthesis of culture and ecology, more than anything else that all of us experience or know of. And an artisan embodies this. That is the legacy. But slowly, as we start putting pressures of the market and start looking at them only as producers of craft, not as practitioners of a very deep practice, always meant that you're deeply conscious of your interdependencies. And therefore, it is not only about interdependency of an economic cycle. Socially, when you are dependent on each other, and culturally, you invariably recognize the importance of the faith, of the caste, of the class, of that other person. And therefore, you could be Hindus and Muslims, but you recognize that you are dependent upon each other. And therefore, if you want that our society is not fragmented, it's very important to bring back the regenerative value chains in this. And so one of the examples, which many of you can, of course, go online and read later, but very briefly, we have a cotton here, which grows in very, very little rainfall. In fact, there are examples when we have had deep droughts, every crop has failed, and the only crop standing would be the kala cotton, traditionally called sakala. And this was it's a very unique cotton, like a lot of indigenous cotton across the country, which are short staple. They got overpowered and dominated by long staple cotton, which came in with the British, but has come in more strongly with independent India, and deeply now through BT cotton. And therefore, in a post-earthquake, we were kind of overridden by this BT cotton, and which is when we revived, which was it had not died down, but it had slowly really diminished, and we started reviving it, which meant revitalizing not only the cotton, but bring back the memory of how to use the cotton, how to understand the fabric. A whole generation of weavers and spinners had forgotten it. And the process of bringing it back and bringing that regenerative people who are draped in kala now across the country and across the world. And so Khamir invested a lot of time and now collaborate with a lot of people across the country who have got interested in their indigenous cotton and the crafts that it activates. We are the second largest sheep population in the world, and yet we are the second largest importer of wool in this world. And so about 8-10 years ago, through a whole somebody mentioned the Living Lightly or the work with pastoralists that I do, and through exhibition and the research, that I realized that across even my own region where I live and across the world, the wool has completely started dying down because we import all our wool and we are not procuring from our own shepherds. And therefore, a whole process of revitalizing the wool and the entire wool crafts and therefore revitalizing. And today there is a whole movement of spinners in the region who are also spinning cotton and wool and learning how to weave it, to make it softer, to work with the fabric, to save it from moths. It's a whole knowledge system. Whether it is cotton, whether it is wool, you dip into this knowledge till you dip into the land that has built this knowledge, and you start conserving the seed, the breed, the plant, the craft, the skill. There can be no craft product. And that's essentially what Khamir is trying to do, including some of many years ago, we activated all the plastic that's lying all over. And this was one of the first initiatives in the country. Today, I'm so happy to see so many more, which takes the plastic and weaves it, turns it into products, and therefore recycles it into different. And there are a whole range of now weavers and artisans also working with that. I will stop here, but just to say that whether it is the power to, the power with, and more importantly, the power within, I have just taken different examples, but essentially every example goes through this entire journey.
Thank you so much, Sushma, for that deeply insightful talk. Really grateful to have had your wisdom with us today, your reflections on community, on craft, on local knowledge, on the power within, with, have given us so much to think about and carry forward. I think there'll be lots of things that will come in the discussion session. We'll move on to Aditya.
Thank you, Sushma ma'am, for your inspiring talk. So I would like to share a small presentation on natural building. We always get inspired from earthen elements for designing or even making the materials, everything. So yeah, I'll quickly go through the slides and I'll brief you about them. So in nature, I have learned 50 to 60% of designing and um, my professional building material making, everything from nature itself, from getting inspired from the nature. And the rest, of course, are architecture colleges, and they have taught me because and the place where I've done my practical training. So, and lot of masons, laborers, villagers, we have learned a lot from them. And uh, getting inspired from nature is very important. Observation, the power of observation is very important. Power of the observation in the sense, I'll show you some pictures. It can show you how a termite is making a termite mound, which is like maybe 1,000 times bigger than it. So if you observe the design of a termite mound, it's very interesting. Passive cooling technique is involved, and there are many countries, like there's a shopping complex mall which is designed without air conditions in Zimbabwe. It's called Harare Mall. So they have got inspired from a termite mounds air circulation and the design, and they have made an huge shopping complex, a shopping mall without air conditions. And this is a bird nest you can see here, and it's called Gijigadu in South Indian language, and it's an weaver's bird. And you can get inspired from observe the way it is building using local materials, of course. So that is what we can learn from different creatures, how to make a shelter. I'll quickly go through the slides. And these bees, them these wasps and these bees, they make the shelters with mud, but still they're yet they are so strong. And the most important observation which I observed from these insects and these wasps is they build whatever is required. They only design a shelter for them, how much it is required. But in humans, you see, for a residence only, you have different sizes of residence. Someone is living in a 1 BHK in a villa, or 2 BHK, 3 BHK, and this, that. A lot of designs and space is vast in most of the buildings where it is not required also. So nature can fulfill our needs only, but it cannot fulfill our greeds. So that is very important learning we have learned by observing a lot of village communities and tribal communities, how their shelters are, how they have built, and the minimalisticness, the real minimalisticness what they have used in their designs. So this is an honeybee. Yeah. So most of the queries and uh, questions what people ask us is, what is the lifespan of natural building? How can will it survive rains, and how long these homes usually serve us? So here there are some examples, existing examples which we have collected of historical buildings which were made from lime, stone, and mud. So here on the left, city of Yemen, which you see, which is 600 years old, still people are living there. It's a residential active area, and you can see these high skyscrapers are made of adobe bricks, which is sun-dried brick. So it's not burnt brick. Burnt brick again, it is not. It's an irreversible reaction, right? So burnt brick cannot turn into soil again. So the soil is dead. That's what I have observed. So sun-dried bricks are very important, and uh, of course, this city of Yemen here, rainfall is very less, and these things are there. That's why you can see the design of the house is there is no good projected roof on the top because rainfall is less. But still, the mud walls have survived 600 years. 600 years. So in Kerala, if you see, the roofing is different. It's like more slopy and give good projections are there because high rainfall is there in that region. So depending on the region, people used to design a house and build it. But now it is more. Uh, it's not more region specific. That's what I feel, and local material specific. So yes, here you can see there is an monastery in Ladakh which is 500 years old. It is made with stones and lime. And there are few more examples, like this is an 600-year-old structure, homes in Mexico. And on the right side, Jaisalmer Fort, which is 860 years old. It's completely made with lime and stones. So on, we have some examples here. Okay, so um, coming back to our the kind of projects we are aiming to do, as previous presentation ma'am told, using uh, employing local people and taking help from them, that is very important to understand what is that regional specific design, observing their shelters, how they used to make, and coming up with a design is very important because those kind of designs were suitable for that region from maybe thousands of years or hundreds of years. And suddenly, when we change the complete design in a specific location area, it becomes complicated. It doesn't, again, you learn from the mistakes. It becomes like that. Yeah. So here, as you can see, we have built this project in near Lucknow. It's an farm plot where we have made a small sample cottage for them. And here, what we have done is we have 100% natural materials we have been using here. And you can see this a man pouring orange liquid into the foundation trench is basically termite treatment liquid. It is made with turmeric, lime, and there's a material called harra. It is called karakai, kadukai in South Indian language, Telugu, and it is called harra in Hindi. So that is also we have used to make this liquid. Completely, we have made this liquid in the site with by using raw materials and local materials. You can see. I'll keep on sliding the pictures. You can see the foundation which we have used here. We are giving mortar, which is made of lime, surki, which is brick powder, and sand. So this is the preparation of the surki mortar, which is very good for brick masonry work, for stone masonry work, and everything. And it is completely water resistant. You can make bathroom floors out of it, wall plasters, which is completely water resistant. In Rajasthan, many people have been using this from long time, but now cement and many modern materials have replaced, which has shorter lifespan um, when compared to these natural materials, because natural materials initially they won't be very strong or robust, but late slowly it becomes very strong. If I'm talking about lime, so but they have longer lifespan, maybe 10 times more life they have than any today's cement and other materials. And they're most importantly they are environment friendly, and they're not carbon emitters. Yeah. So you can see in this picture, on the right side and left side, we have raised the plinth with stone itself, because stone foundation and stone plinth is very important to make a mud wall. And here we have started mixing the mud with some straw, which is like grass, the paddy grass. So agricultural byproduct is paddy. So we have kneaded it properly, the soil and the grass, and we have started on the last picture, the right side picture. You can see the masons have started raising the wall, just like the picture we have seen where that wasp and that insect was making the house. In that method only. It's called cob. It's very simple technique to make load-bearing walls, but the thickness should be more. And here you can see on the right side on the wall how they have raised 1 feet wall. So there is so you have to raise 1 feet wall, and you have to let it dry first for 2 days depending on the sunlight, and then you can continue the wall slowly 1 feet by 1 feet, and you can achieve your structure. And you can see there's one circular um, firma here in the entrance, that is for we are making in stone arch there. Yeah, as you can see in this picture, the walls have risen up, and on the left picture, you can see we have done. On the right picture, you see there's a lot of stones which we have laid for the foundation for the flooring, and on the left you can see the flooring base has been given, right? So which is earthen flooring, same mitti and ghas ka mixture, the soil and the straw. Can see how people are mixing it with the feet. So it was initially people used to long back. It's a very old technique. So people used to use bulls and bulls to mix this soil with the feet. They used to make a trench, and these bulls used to walk on the soil in this grass. And but now we are doing with uh, our people. Yeah. So this is one more technique called adobe bricks, which is sun-dried bricks. So you can see here there is a wooden frame, simple wooden frame, no compressed machines, nothing. It's a wooden frame, and whatever cob mixture we have made, we mold it into this wooden frame and we remove the frame. Then you can see on the right side this picture, there are a lot of bricks sun drying. So these bricks are very strong bricks. And why we do this? Because to ease the work, if you it depends on the requirement. If you want to make a lot of bricks in summer season and keep it for your construction, maybe for next year, or maybe uh, with the next after the summer season, then it is very easy to build. Masons are very habituated to this kind of construction. Any mason can do it, but cob, you need to train him for some time, and then only he can do it. So but these adobe bricks are very easy to and convenient, because it's very relatable to the conventional construction technique. So you can see here how these Adobe bricks are huge. They are 25 kgs each, 16, 12 by 4 inches dimension. And we make bigger blocks also, smaller blocks also, depending on which place we are using. This is for a load bearing wall, which we are continuing on this a cob wall, as you can see. Yeah, so you can see how the wall is rising and we have left spaces for the windows. Yeah, so here also you can see how Adobe bricks are used to build walls, which are extremely strong, and less number of joints because the size of the brick is big. And in this picture, you can see how the plastering is done on the mud wall. So on the right side picture, the soil is gray. It's not cement or anything. The soil was black soil, not black cotton. So this soil, because of the soil color, it's like that. And on the left side, you can see this image. It's this structure we are making in Telangana. We have already finished it. So this is kind of soil which we find here. So you can see plastering on a mud wall, mud plaster on a mud wall um, has been given to that structure. And as you can see how in the left picture, you can see how the structure looks when it's being constructed. It's completely made with mud. There is no pillars, no lintel beams are also of wood. So lintel beams are something which are placed on the window like a beam so that the wall can come top of it. So yeah, so and you can see how it got transformed into a very finished space on the right side. It's the same structure which is on the left side and right side, same picture, same angle. Um, and here, if you can observe, there is a bed, there is a sofa on the right side image. It's completely made out of mud. And the white finish which you are looking on the top, which it's like a skin layer to the structure, that is lime. Chuna, which we say, Chuna, that is lime. So first, specifically for this structure, we wanted to give a lime finish. So we have given a lime finish to the structure, and all the electrical wirings and everything is concealed. Many of us will have doubt that in mud homes can we do electrical wiring? Is that everything is possible, and it can be done. And this picture you can see our masons are giving this finishing on the floor. So even the floor is made of mud, and we are giving this lime finish to it. And they are our local masons. Actually, to give this finish, people for very luxurious resorts and this that people hire from Rajasthan, lot of people, and it's a very expensive affair of having this. It's called Araish, Tedelac, these kind of finishes. If you have to give on the walls, it's a very expensive method. Uh, The the procedure is very expensive because you have to get people from Rajasthan, and only specific people do it. But what my ideology, our team's ideology is that teaching the skill to the local people is very important. So we did not get any worker from a different state or different place. All these workers are from nearby village. So because I have learned myself with my hands how to hand skill, how to do this finishes and breaks and everything. So I was able to teach the local people, local masons how to work, and how to um, get this knowledge in reality. So they have built their confidence after learning this kind of techniques. And what touched me deeply was uh, when we were making this mittika bed, which is cob bed, it is called. And these local workers were making it under initially under our instructions, but later on they were giving a lot of ideas, because they are more connected to earth. And they are very they just they have forgotten these techniques, but it's inside them. In every human, it is, these natural building techniques are very instinctive. So it is there in the instinct. That's what I tell to every student, every worker, every mason, always, that this knowledge, but I just have to polish it for you, because you have forgotten it. So just like growing food, cooking food, and building homes with local materials available all around you, that is a very instinctive knowledge. Yeah. So this mason, he made, they made this cob bed. And after the project finished, he told me that he also made a cob bed in his house. And because these wooden beds are very expensive for them, they always used to sleep on the floor, but now they sleep on a cob bed. So it has he has learned a new skill, and it helped him. Yeah. So coming on to the next pictures, you can see here, there is on the right side, where there's a peacock painting. It's an fire pit, like it's like a chimney kind of thing, because it gets too cold at the night. And the very good benefit of a mud house is, if it's too hot outside, it's cold inside. And if it's too it's too warm, sorry, it's too cold outside, it's warm inside. So it regulates the temperature, just like an earthen pot does to the water. Yeah. So this is the elevation of the house. And here you can see this natural blue color, and everything we have prepared naturally. Even wood polishes, natural wall paints, wood paint, flooring, everything we have made on the site. It takes a lot of time, but once you learn this skill, right, so it becomes um, a very enjoyable process, and work doesn't feel like work then. You can see some of the structures we have made. This is one structure under construction picture I have posted, so that you can understand how uh, uh, this is made. You can see on the base, it is stone base we have given. And on that, it's completely mud wall, load bearing. You can see the elevation. You can see how brick by brick it is being laid, and how the flooring in this image, you can see how it is being done. It's very important to give good base of stone for earthen flooring for its longer life, because we are aiming for more than 100 years. So we have to use a lot of stones for the base, because it's best material. And on the roof, you can see there's a lot of local timber, uh, wooden roofing we have given here. And you can see how they're these are all local carpenters, how they, how they've in the same style they are making, how they build their own houses in these villages using timber. And this kind of trusses also, it's their own design. And because this space is a little bit bigger than what they build, so we have helped them to structurally understand, um, but mostly they have helped us making this roof by with their knowledge only. And there are no bolts or any kind of nails in this roofing. They have used all joint methods they have given. They have joined everything, different joineries they have given. And it will have longer lifespan when it is done in this way. You can see from inside, we have given lime putti, which is the recipe also we make it. It's very simple. And lime paint we have given to the walls. And we are polishing the roofing, the wood of the roofing, because we have to save it from termites. We have to save it from moisture and everything. You can see how this person, he's painting the mud wall with lime paint, lime wash. So lime wash is very, it's very cheap. And it's very important to give in the outdoors, because here there's a lot of winds and rains are coming. So lime wash, which is water resistant, that kind of recipe we have made and we have applied in the walls, and they're very good right now. You can see this bed which we are making with we have made with mud and giving a lime finish on it. You can see there's a small the requirement for this structure, they wanted a small water body to uh, to relax and sit. So we made a small water body with mud and lime. So, and we have doubt that if whether it can hold the water or not. It is successfully running, and it's very good. It keeps the water in good form. And you can make water tanks, you can make septic tanks, you can make underground rainwater storage sumps, swimming pools, you can make this plunge pools, everything with lime. You can do it. It's possible without using any chemical or any plastic lining kind of thing. You can do it. This is one more kind of design we did this for this water body only inside the house. It's a small video I would like to play for those all mud homes which we made in one place. Like this is a one small project. So we have given green roof on the top for specifically this project. But yeah, so all the bricks, all the mortar, plaster, paints, everything we have made in the site itself. And this person is standing on the roof of the structure and taking the video. If you want me to play again, I think he's standing on a one structure's roof playing this. There's a bonfire area in the center, all stones we have given, stone pathways we have given. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, so possibilities with mud and lime is very, see, these materials are perfect to build homes. And you can see on the left picture and the right picture, uh, we can polish mitti also, we can polish mud. You can see we are polishing with a piece of glass, and here on the center picture we have polished it with a uh, metal, so it got oxidized and became black. So you can polish mud into that smooth surface. And it's a very creative material. You have to explore it, you have to learn more. And my advice to all the people who are watching this or listening to me is do hands-on. When you learn the skill yourself, you can teach and empower local people. You can teach them. You should spread the knowledge. Never try to keep it within yourself. This is my secret recipe, this is my secret technique, and all. Because see, we all are speaking, or we all are, you know we all are fighting to save environment. So we have to spread this knowledge as much as possible. That is why we conduct a lot of workshops, and we train on many things. We tell everything in detail, we give notes, and maybe sooner we are going to write some books on it also, on our experiences. And we have opened a foundation also, where we are going to give more training programs. Yeah, so here in this picture you can see we are oiling the mud. So basically, when you do the mud plaster and when you oil the surface of the mud, it becomes more water resistant, and wear and tear happens less to it. So you can see how with a piece of cloth we have to hand oil it makes the mud a little bit darker, but that becomes water resistant. On the right, on the rightmost image, you can see there is a seating. We have made this in CPWD, which is in Delhi, Central Public Work Department. And I was doing my internship that time. It's a long back thing. So I've made it. So it's completely oiled properly because it's an outdoor rains come here. So yeah. So trade. So you can. There are many possibilities with mud. Only thing is that we are not uh, capable of doing it. So we question the soil itself. अरे मिट्टी का घर तो पिघल जाता है, मिट्टी का घर तो पहली बारिश में निकल जाएगा ये वो. But I have seen mud homes which have lasted for 200 years, 300 years in a lot of villages in South India. I've seen. I have been to Gujarat, Rajasthan. Everyone is building with mud. Jharkhand, they're built. Chhattisgarh, there. So everywhere people have been building with mud, and those walls never cracked. You see, you just have to maintain it, just how we maintain ourselves, right? And I always see a structure, a home, a building like a human body only, when even when I'm designing it. So without a good umbrella, I cannot design a building, because all the sun will fall on the building and everything, and rain will fall on the building. So it's very important to understand good boots and um, good pair of boots and good hat or an umbrella is very important for a building. But now we are designing like a box. There is no umbrella, in spite of our temperature. Our India has a lot of high temperatures, lot of rainfall is there, but people are designing like that. So it is very important to understand that. Okay, I'll move quickly. How in the left picture you can see how they're making samples and everything of the mud plaster. Okay, so I'll move quickly because I think we are running late. So these are our training programs where we train people. You can just go through the pictures. I'll slide it quickly. So sorry for that. You can see different mud blocks. We teach them how to do soil testing, how to make mud blocks and everything. Bamboo splitting, wood treatment, natural paints, plasters. Need of natural building is 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 very high, crucial nowadays, because concrete is after water we are using concrete. That is what a study has shown. Most used material is concrete, and there's a lot of energy consumption is a water pollution, air pollution, heat island effect, poor indoor air quality, chemical pollution, light pollution, noise pollution. Red brick industry is also responsible for a lot of timber burning and pollution, and there's a lot of debris waste also. In a conventional building, you can see what is the life, what happens in 50 to 60 years, what happens in 60 to 70 years. Okay, there are many countries which are supporting natural building, and in India also there are Himachal Pradesh and Kerala is supporting. They have legal framework, just like you have norms and everything. Uh, how to Yeah, so I'll quickly move with the slides. You can see in different states of India how different structures are. In Andhra Pradesh, the structures used to be like this. Used to be, not now. It is all same. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Gujarat, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh. So all these structures are different. All these structures have different colors, different roof style, different wall heights, because climatic conditions, the temperature they have, the kind of annual rainfall they have, it's all different. So, sorry. Okay, I would like to uh, you can quickly go through it. So I would like to conclude my presentation here.
Thank you, Aditya sir, for that refreshing and thought-provoking presentation.
Thank you so much.
You have reminded us that architecture is not about creating more, but creating meaningfully.
Yes, that is.
Your reflections today encourage us to look at design as a continuous cycle of learning, responsibility, and renewal.
Yes.
Thank you once again.
Thank
I'm
you.
delighted to see Jasim, who has sat through the entire presentation. Thanks, Jasim. It means a lot to us, and I'm sure to the colleges and the speakers as well. Thanks a bunch for being there. Yeah, go on, Sankirtan.
So we will be heading to the Q&A session now. So all participants who have your queries, you may please drop your questions in our chat box. Alternatively, you may unmute and ask questions too. I'd be delighted to be moderating today's Q&A session. So we have received a wide variety of thoughtful questions over a Google form that we circulated earlier from students and participants across institutions in India and beyond. So some questions are dedicated to some of individual speakers, while the questions are open for both of you to answer. We'll be gifting a copy of 1770 to two best questions from today's sessions. So don't hold back. Share your thoughts and questions in the chat box. So let's get started. This is for both our speakers. How is sustainability helpful for future generations? What new methods can we bring up?
So, what I have a feeling that, now mostly 40% of global carbon emissions and this all this greenhouse effect, everything is happening because of building industry, construction industry. And as I shared in my presentation, that people are using concrete next to the water. Like first is water, what we are using. After that, people are using concrete. So that much amount of concrete is being used. So we have to reduce it, and we have to understand the importance of using local materials, local workmanship, local workers. We have to encourage them, and that is very important. And so the main solution for it is, we as we as architects or civil engineers or any professional person, if we want to bring change, we have to learn it first. We have to learn it first, and then we can teach others. That is very important. That's what I've understood from my life experience, because I have very limited experience, hardly 6 years or 5 years of experience in this field. And mostly first 1 2 years I worked like a laborer, worked like a mason in the site, without any expectation. Only the hunger of learning is there. I won't say was there. Even now we work like that. Then only we are able to teach and train and learn from them also. Yeah, so
Aditya, I have one point here.
sir.
Unlearn to learn
Yes.
more.
Yes, sir.
I was surprised to see she saw me. I thought I'll sit quietly and watch that one. It has been a great day. Thank you very much. I've been learning the mud structure, the cow dung mixing and hay mixing structures and mud. One thing the anthill, every
Yes.
time I pass an anthill,
Yes.
and the snake takes over and lives in the fascinating spaces which are
Yes.
walked, believes me, of one of the tallest and the highest buildings you can ever build on this world. Compare the scale of an ant to that mound of
Yes,
anthill.
sir.
Built for the human scale, that it'll be an unimaginable structures.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Geeta.
Thank you, Jason.
Over to our next question. Sushma ma'am, this one's for you. You spent decades working closely with rural communities. How do you see the relationship between development and dignity evolving today?
Thank you. That's a nice question. Um, I- before I respond to those two words, uh, I think one needs to start relooking and unlearning, as Jason just said, the word development. And it has become a very loaded word. And development as we know it and as we practice it is actually doing everything to make us more unsustainable. Going back to your earlier question, and the only way to integrate the well-being of the earth, well-being of every sentient being living on it, including human beings, is to begin with, to give dignity to everything and everybody around it, in nature and in human, and not to other nature. And I think if we start doing that, I think all communities knew this. All communities learned this years ago, decades ago, and has been part of all their legacies in many different ways. That doesn't mean that they did not violate it. Of course, human beings have continued to violate these understandings. But if you look at how the process of culture making within communities, you will see that they deeply respected everything that lived around them. In fact, probably what they did not respect were other human beings. And that's how you have so much of social stratification. If you look traditionally, a lot of our communities are probably environmentally far more conscious and resilient. Then they were socially very aware. When in the sense that that's how society has got divided, and there are so many class, caste, gender, race. All of these have have broken the dignity of a lot of communities and human beings and individuals and regions and localities, languages. But traditionally, if you notice that they were far more conscious of the environment and the ecology and other beings than the modern human being became. With with modernity, human beings have become a little more aware of the rights and the perspectives of other human beings, but it has started othering nature much more, right? And this is an interesting shift that has happened. And the more we have othered nature, the less we live with it, understand it, integrate our lives with it, and reduce our what we now call the carbon footprint. And so, how does one combine the two? That is development and dignity. How you ensure that you take care of the basic needs and the well-being of communities and enable their dignity, ensure their dignities, but not at the cost of the ecology. The two will go together if we learn to live more simply and less consumptively. Otherwise, we will always justify more development in the name of what we have lost over the last so many decades, and in trying to ensure that the poorer or more marginalized communities also get a chance to live with dignity. And it is understood that to live with dignity means you need to have a lot of so-called development infrastructure around you, and development services, which is largely driven from our understanding of how Western cultures have lived and prospered. But I think that understanding is what will probably is what is damaging us much more, and therefore to simplify and huge. It's a very tall order for a whole society and many marginalized communities who probably are for the first time stepping out of their poverty, right? And therefore want to be are very aspirational. And therefore there'll be many more buildings. There'll be all your architects are going to get a lot more work. And we said don't build more, but there'll be a lot of building because it is a become an aspirational society. But how does one unlearn this whole understanding of what development means? If we do that, then there will be greater dignity for all.
Thank you, ma'am. That was so nicely explained. Thank you. So I think that's a great takeaway for all of us that we have to learn, unlearn, learn, unlearn again. So that's something which is very nice that we hear. So moving ahead to our next question. This is from Amit Chatterjee from Veer Surendra Sai University of Technology, Burla. The question is open to both our speakers today. It goes this way. In exploring forms of freedom through architecture, how do you reconcile the tension between freedom as an abstract ideal and the constraints, cultural, ecological, material, that ground our built environments? Yes, over to you, ma'am, sir, anyone, whoever would like to take the.
I think basically what he's trying to talk about is, I mean, an architect works with constraints which are site-specific, context-specific,
Yes.
and then we are talking about freedom. So how do you really bring them together?
So what I have seen this problem, the kind of problem in many people that there are a lot of challenges, lot of constraints are there in the site and with the materials and everything, how to deal with it. So right balancing is very important between them. And first of all, the priorities and some principles should be some principles should be made. Just like I've read a lot about permaculture, and they have 12 principles. So they follow those principles and they design or build anything. So in those principles you will have reusing of using local materials, using renewable energy, that kind of principles. They have not damaging ecological system or biodiversity, they conserve. So they consider all these points, and then they come up with a design, and that kind of work they do. So that's what I feel, that having strong principles which can um, it should balance the nature and everything. That is very important to, and then design.
I'm going to say something which is a little counterintuitive. Um, Constraint is what creates freedom. Uh, when we are working with less, is when our imagination can be completely free. When we are spoiled for choices, and when there is more, that's when you actually that's you're actually sometimes paralyzed with the number of choices one has, right? Whether it is building, whether it's material, whether it's craft, all our traditional community craft artisans will all say that, we were just so creative and so innovative because we are working with so little and so less. And that's true. My experience, even of initiatives, organizations. Today there is increasingly a feeling, and because there are also, it's become a world of choices, that one can play with these choices, and one feels that for one is free to play with that. But in fact, especially when working with materials and processes, you when you have less, you push your boundaries much more, and your ability to innovate is much stronger. And you will notice this. You will notice this, for instance, many amongst you, that when, for instance, I see this all the time when I am working with young people and students, that those students who are really from from very constrained environments, from smaller towns, from smaller villages, when they start creating, there is a certain freedom with which they understand, create, and undertake initiatives. And I maintain this, that less is more, and therefore we need to start looking uh, at at something which is more bounded, as not being a constraint. I just want to quote a small, little, tiny story from. I was doing an oral history with three generations of pastoralists in Maharashtra one day, about 3 years ago, and there was the grandmother who was sitting there, who was much older, and was talking about the lack of freedom in her life. Yes, naturally, because women of that generation didn't have so much of freedom that the younger generation has. And she spoke a lot about how constrained she was, how society constrained her, how she was completely not free, and with a lot of anecdotes and incidents. And I was completely resonating with that and understanding her being. And then the next day, so then I asked her granddaughter, who was sitting with her, who was about 16 years old. And she said, I will not, you talk to me tomorrow, when nobody is around. And so the next day I went and I was having a long interview with her. And I said, so you are far freer than your grandmother, aren't you? And she gave me such a deeply insightful response. She said, my grandma, I feel I'm more constrained than my grandmother. I said, hello, how do you say that? She said, my grandmother had her norms and frames very clearly worked out for her. And then within that, while she was within that, she was completely free. She enjoyed actually more power than I do as a 16-year-old. I I'm shown so many choices. I'm told I'm much freer than her. But I actually, in reality, my situation or my circumstances don't allow me to go into all those choices. So I can see it. I'm troubled by it. I cannot aspire to it. I cannot reach it. But I constantly feel inadequate with myself. I'm not free in my mind, right? And this was a very interesting response, and I would like all of you to just think about this. Of course, we all know that societies, women, all the people I spoke, all the community spoke about, will get constrained when society places, and there is oppressive structures which work upon us, or very, very few resources. But one should not equate that with that if you have a lot of choices and you have everything the world before you, you are more free. You're not necessarily more free. I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that elaboration. Thank you, sir. The next question is from Ananya Sunil from Dayanand Sagar Academy of Technology and Management. Aditya, sir, this question is for you.
Yeah.
What do you envision for the future of sustainability in our industry? And yeah, there's a follow-up question if you would like to take this
Yeah,
further.
yeah,
And
please,
then,
please.
yeah.
The next question also.
The next question is what advice would you give to young designers who want to work towards environmental change but don't yet know where to begin?
Okay. Okay. So, first of all, our industry, in the sense, the construction industry, of course, the architectural, this thing, yeah. So, what, see, I have been through that 5 years of college, architecture college, and it passed away like this within few seconds because it was so, it fascinates me so much. So it passed away like that. But what I have observed as a student, um, now also I'm a student, I keep learning. So it is very important to understand, first of all, the need of the material, the properties of the material. So that is very important to understand before designing. So before designing, you should understand what are the properties of materials, what materials we have. Material understanding is important, and the kind of impact that material brings to the structure, that is important before designing. So we directly design, and then in college we just design. We don't think so much what material should be used for this wall, or maybe this particular element or something. So my suggestion would, for our students, would be travel more and observe. A lot of observation is important. Keep on observing how people are building and people have built. See, when you observe, no, you understand what not to build also, and what to build also. That is very important. I have observed a lot of buildings, and I understood that, okay, I don't want to build like this, or I will never build like this. And I've observed a lot of buildings, and I thought, okay, this buildings I'm going to implement in my design. So understanding material, understanding structural part of it is also important, which we most timely miss. So how can you start? You can start by very simple steps. But just whatever theme, according to me, I am in a zone where only mud is a material for me to construct. That's what I believe, that is ideal most material to construct. So explore manual methods more, like make small bricks. Say if it is not possible for you to go to village and make huge structures or something, the model making curriculum in your colleges, so make small mud blocks and build with it, and make models like that, rather than using any synthetic material like foam board and this that. So you can make materials, you can make structures like how they are built in a smaller scale. See, when we are able to design into 1:100 scale, when we are able to design a plan, why not build a house in a, it'll take time, but you'll understand everything about it. That's what I felt. I would, if I would have done that in college, it would be very nice, but later on I did that. So yeah, so this is very important to understand actual material. So material making also, it's not very difficult, as ma'am said previously, that when you have very less materials, it is very then only the skill comes up, and you can see there is a potato and people make a lot of things with it. So just like with mud, you can make a lot of wall techniques, lot of plasters, paints, everything. It's only soil, right? So understand that material, understand the properties of material, understand how the temperature, the rainfall effects and everything, and then start designing. For I'll give you a small example. If my wall is very high, like maybe 12 feet or something, if my projection is very low of the roof, then the splashes are going to come, right? So you have to understand that logic. If you don't understand about the rain, how can you design? If you have never stood in rain and observed a building, how can you design? So these activities are more important. So power of observation, no teacher is going to make you stand on rain and let you observe how the water flow is going, how to protect the foundation, how to make these trenches and everything. But you have to learn by yourself. Never think that some teacher is going to come and teach me, then only I'll learn. So no one taught us how to, how to scroll or do all the stuff which are doing by ourselves. Okay. So learning should be from within. You should start learning from within, and teachers, and they'll be supporting a lot. But power of observation is everything. One of our participants in a workshop, he came and he did not ask me a question also. 5 days we have trained him properly, not him only, there were 30 people. We have trained them. He did not ask any questions. He was from a Buddhist community. He never revealed that. After the workshop, he has built a structure by himself in 5 days of learning. Many people have done that, but he has done without any guidance, like only the workshop knowledge. So I asked him, you did not ask me a single question in the workshop, but how could you build it? And later on also, you did not ask me any question, and you have directly built it, and you invited me for the inauguration of the structure. He told me that we are taught power of observation. So in these 5 days, he was only observing. He was only observing in details. And even I learn from a lot of observation only. If I'm learning from a mason, I cannot ask him questions. I can only observe how he's holding the, karni, how his footwork is there while he's plastering, how can he manage to give even stroke, what is the angle of the karni. So all this is observation only. So this is the advice which I could give. And architecture, architectural industry or construction industry or anything, future of building construction, people are looking for mud construction a lot, and there are very less people who are actually doing it. So there is high demand for it, but service providers are very, very extremely less. That's why it is not very sustainable in today's day. Mud construction, if you are getting a service from anyone else, it is very expensive because there were very less people to do it. So I would suggest and advise to explore this material and the ultimate material, and design, show your creativity there, and do it. And we have created a mud construction lab we have created, where we are using lot of materials, have more than 200 300 materials we have, which have different plant extracts, this that. And whenever I've used only 2 3 items, to make a brick or to make anything, then only it has come out perfect. When I've tried to add 10 15 items and make it more, a perfect ideal brick, it always failed. So yeah, so keep practicing, keep doing hands-on work and explore. Yeah, that's what my advice would be. Yes.
Very rightly said, sir. I think we totally agree with what you said. One needs to have the intent of,
Yes.
trying something on these lines, and they can begin very much from the classroom too. I think we really understood that, the power of observation and the power of, just being curious. It all
Yeah.
begins from there, and, it can do a lot more wonders. Yeah,
It's
thank you
hunger
so
for
much.
learning. It's
Yes,
hunger for
yes,
learning. You should maintain that hunger always.
yes.
So
Yes, sir. Um, So we have one participant raising hands. Yeah, Amrita, School of Architecture. This could be our last question. Do you want to unmute and ask?
The question is, one and class he had shown us. So that really wants to know the fire resistance property of the natural
I could hear only few things like fire resistant property of natural materials. Is that what is that?
Yes, so that's right.
Yeah. So okay. Can I fire resistant properties of natural materials, right? Yeah, it is all fire resistant only because mud cannot catch fire. And coming to the wood, the timber or the thatch roof which we give on the roofing systems, जो घास का roof होता है ना, thatch का roof, that's what I have observed, that many villages have been burnt because of that kind of roofing, thatch roofing, which is a very local method of roofing, and it is one of the best kind of roofings which I have seen. Temperature wise, lightweight, and easily available material. With rains and nothing it happens. The only problem with it is fire. So I was speaking to a person, he basically is from Andhra Pradesh only, and he has done some rural development in different villages in all over Andhra. So he told me that he was in a village and they were asking him that what about this thatch roof issue in Diwali and all these times. It keeps on the roof keeps burning, and it's a big problem for us. So then he gave them an advice, and that's what he was sharing with me also, that there is one specific type of construction in which this wooden frame is given for thatch roof. Before applying the thatch, before applying the grass on the roof, they have a bamboo mat or chatai kind of thing. They keep it and give more additional members, and they do lipai of mud on it. Okay, so they roughly 1 to 2 inches of mud plaster kind of thing. They do lipai on that, and then they give thatch roof over it. So when there is a fire accident happening, the whole structure will not burn. Only the grass will burn immediately and it will stop. So these kind of techniques villagers adopted because of lot of fire accidents and incidents. So, and see, mud walls will never catch fire or any electrical fire. Nothing will happen because mud can never catch fire. But for the roof, I'm advising you this can be done. Because many villages they have been doing this. It's called midde illu in midde. It's called the roofing type is called midde in Andhra Pradesh. So they started lipaying with the mud plaster they started giving on that thatch roofing. So it's very simple technique they have come up with. So when there is problem, then only there is a solution. People find a solution for it. When you experience a problem, then you come up with solutions. So that's why it'll get inspired from the vernacular architecture of the local area. It will give you all the answers because they have survived for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years they have been surviving, and they have become resistant to all these problems. So you'll get solution and everything from your local villages and everything. So that's how we also find all the solutions from. And experimenting and everything is 20-30% of learning, but mostly communicating, observing, and this is only very important. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, sir. With this, we would like to close the Q&A session. All additional questions will be emailed to Sushma ma'am and Aditya sir. Please answer it at your convenient time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to our participants for these wonderful questions and to our speakers for your thoughtful and generous responses. It's been inspiring to hear how both of you weave together ideas of context, sustainability, and community in design. With that, I'd like to hand it back to Priyanka and Geeta ma'am for the closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya sir. Thank you, Sushma ma'am. And thank you to every student and participant who joined us today. What we heard today reminds us that design is not about just creating forms, but about creating futures that are sustainable, equitable, and deeply connected to both people and the planet. As the environmentalist Robert Swan once warned us, the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. And as designers, it reminds us that change begins with our own choices in every material we select and every space we create. You are the reason we do this work. May today's conversation inspire you to both imagination and responsibility. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Sense and Sensibility session.
Thank you all. Thanks, Sushma.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aditya. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jaisir. Yes.
Lovely
Lots
to
of
hear
love.
you, Aditya.